Hey, what's up, guys? On this week's episode of Knife Thursday, we're doing Fixed Blade Friday and Cyber Saturday, but we're still doing it on Thursday. Stick around. Okay, guys, so this week, as promised, I have the review, my review on the Benchmade 162 Bushcrafter. This one has the buckskin sheath and the green scales. There's another version with like coyote tan and a kydex sheath, which I've heard kind of mixed reviews about. I've also heard mixed reviews about this sheath. But before we get into the sheath, let's get into the actual knife, because this is the part that matters the most. The sheath's important, but I want to know how this thing cuts. So I'll be rolling some clips of some stuff that I have done with it. And so you guys can kind of see the performance here as I'm talking. But this knife was I've always wanted one, and I got this one in on a trade with a friend from Instagram, Blade Collector 7. He's a cool guy. Check him out. But anyway, I got it. I knew that there was some, the edge was kind of whipped because he uses this stuff for real. So I put my edge on here, and this thing has performed much better than expected. I have a lot of knives in S30V, and Benchmade does a great job with their heat treat on S30V, and I really like it. But this one I feel is like exceptional. I feel like this holds an edge. It outperforms my other S30V, if I can say it that way. It just seems to hold an edge for a really long time. Nice sharp spine for throwing sparks. This thing is called the Bushcrafter, and I have to admit it's quite good at bushcraft type tasks. It's also good with cutting meat and in the kitchen, as you'll see. First impressions when I held this thing was the handle. I was like, man, I've heard things about this, and it feels kind of blocky and square, and I don't know if I really like this back here. But, after using it, it didn't bother me. You'll see in some of the pictures I put up that I carved a little baton with this thing one day, and I did a mixture of the whole handle part that I thinned out was all done with carving. None of that was batoning. I just carved that out, and I just took my time with it to really get a lot of cuts on this blade to see how it would work. So I carved that all down, I just pushed the blade down and rocked it to make the, the bevel there. And then I got back on the knife and put this little lanyard around my pinky and held it with two fingers here. And I went to town chopping this hard maple to see how it would do with that. And I don't normally chop with a knife, but these are kind of things that I know people are going to ask about. So I kind of test outside of my normal use to put it through more than what I would usually do, just to make sure that it can, and because I know people are going to ask. So yes, it was half decent at chopping, especially with like this kind of two-finger grip with the lanyard around my pinky. I felt that was very, I just felt very confident with that, and it wasn't too uncomfortable. Now, I thought for sure that I was going to have to sand this thing down and make it the way I wanted, but I started carving this thing, and I worked on it for close to an hour, just, between flattening out the end and bringing down the handle and all that stuff. Debarking it, and at first I was like, oh, I don't really like this handle, but after I got carving, I forgot all about the handle, and it was fine. I did some reverse grips, like some chest leverage pulls. I did just kind of your thumb on the spine carving. I did some really hard stuff where I was just romping on it in a hammer grip, and it's been good. You'll see that I've done some batoning with it. I've done some feather sticking with it. I'll put in pictures of some feather sticks I made. And then I made a fire with this thing. It strikes a ferro rod quite well. Now, my ferro rod that I have on here is the absolute cheapest thing you can get. It's like $3 or $4 at a Army Navy surplus store. So it's low quality, and the sparks definitely don't shower that much. So it took a little bit to get a fire going, but that wasn't really the fault of the knife. It's more just a function of a low quality ferro rod. So as for the knife, I really like the blade profile. I like it's kind of like a mid to high saber grind with a secondary bevel. I like that for bushcraft. I like Scandinavian grinds. I like convex. I kind of like them all. They're all pretty good. This one doesn't bite as much as a Scandinavian grind will, but it's a bit more controllable on certain things because it doesn't bite so hard. So there's pluses and minuses. Suffice to say, it cuts very well. I've gone through tons and tons of cardboard near my fireplace. Any cardboard boxes that we get, I just slice them up into little strips so that I can use for getting stuff going in the morning or whatever. This has gone through a ton of cardboard. It did that whole baton. And then after that, I was still able to shave with this thing, which was pretty impressive. I've seen no nicks, no damage, no chipping in the edge. Even after the chopping on the maple and stuff, it would still shave. So I was quite impressed with that. Now let's get on to the sheath. And the sheath. So the sheath is kind of a source of kind of criticism from a lot of people. And at first it was for me as well. I love the buckskin leather. I think the leather is beautiful. Really liked that part of it. And it's got some nice things. It's got a little hole down here in case you want to, kind of tie it off to your leg. But I'm so used to pouch style sheaths that I really was not a fan of the snap style. And in the regular form, the leather is so nice and soft that the strap doesn't really get out of the way when you unsnap it, and you can rub the blade on it a bunch. So what I did is I saw this, I can't remember where I saw it, so I'm sorry, I'm not trying to take credit for this idea, but I ran some stretchy cord here, bungee cord, through here, poked a couple holes and ran it to the back, and now, I made it tight, and when you pop this open, it kind of flips it out of the way for you. There's also some tape on here to kind of stiffen it up. Stock form, I'm not a huge fan of the sheath. I think it's much better when you do something to stiffen this up. That being said, I've gotten quite used to it. I carried this with me hunting a few times. I didn't get any deer, but it was great for that. And I braided this piece of paracord, and I use this as a dangler. And the way I do this is this just goes, like if this is my belt here, this goes up behind my belt, and it basically lark's head. I put the knife through here, and it'll be attached to your belt kind of like this, okay? So that's how it's going to hang on your belt, and it kind of makes like a dangler. And I like that, and I was thinking about getting a custom sheath made for this, but now I'm thinking I might just leave it for at least a little while and see how this plays out, because I rather enjoyed this. And I could put it on my belt if I wanted, but I don't like carrying knives up that high because they kind of get in my way when I'm bending and crouching and stuff like that. So anyway, the sheath, it's okay. I think it would have been a lot better if they made a pouch sheath. The buckskin is beautiful. I really like the color and the feel. That's really nice. The ferro rod holder's nice, but I would have liked to have seen a pouch style sheath on this. But anyway, guys, I really like this knife. I was very impressed with it. If you know, kind of some of the stuff I have, I've got a Falkneven S1 that I really like, and I've got some Moras that I really like for bushcraft, and I've got a few others. And this one is like right at the top. I love the way this thing cuts. I love the edge retention on this S30V. I don't see any chipping or anything like that. And yeah, it's stainless, so you're not going to be able to throw a spark off the spine with a rock. But I mean, if you're in that situation, you're kind of hosed anyway. So yeah, I don't want to get into the whole carbon versus stainless. This is a great knife. It doesn't need really hardly any maintenance except stropping it up once in a while, and it does take to a strop nicely. It feels different in hand than what I'm used to, but once I got cutting, there was no problems with it. So overall, I think this was a win. The sheath leaves something to be desired, and that's an important part. But a lot of people do different styles on their sheath anyway. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this review. If I was going to rate this like out of a 10, I'd give the knife a 9. I like it that much. I'd give the blade, I'd probably give a 9.5, and the handle I'd probably give like an 8, because initially it feels weird, but then it's fine once you get carving. I don't know, it's different. The sheath I'd probably give like a 6. There's definitely room for improvement there, but custom Kydex sheath for this is not that much money. And if you get them used, you get a good deal on them like I did, then you're doing well. And I think it's a very good knife. It's definitely one that I'll be hanging on to. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget to thumbs up and subscribe. Merry Christmas. God bless, guys, and I will get you next.